Okay. Again, welcome. My name is Adam Kurtz, and I'm with Sylvan Software, and we'll be talking today about the Stratum Broadcast Manager. This is actually a two-part series. Today, we'll be covering the first part and talking about the concept of the Broadcast Manager, what it is, and some of the primary elements of the Broadcast Manager. Um, Basically, like I said, kind of going through these concepts, broadcast manager, all the different elements under that, such as the actions, the groups, and the schedules. There's a specific user for a broadcast that you could set up. And then we'll take a look at some of the stuff in a demo and field any questions that you might have. The broadcast manager falls under the Stratum Access Hub. So part of our Stratum data hub story is this concept of having the analyst hub, the access hub, Stratum Analytics, and the Stratum Link. So all the different ways that you can feed Stratum and the different ways that you can get data out of Stratum. And certainly one of those ways is through email distribution or pushing reports out via email or even to a file share for that matter. And that's what we're going to concentrate on today is this piece called Broadcast Manager that essentially allows you to set some things like that up. Um, so what is Broadcast Manager? Well, you can think of it as an extension of Stratum Viewer, the viewer interface that provides the ability to deliver your Stratum data to users on a scheduled basis. So this certainly will leverage all the existing views. It certainly leverages existing users and role security. Everything that you have set up is going to be leveraged within the Stratum interface. So right off the bat, you can take advantage of a lot of things just by leveraging a lot of things that you already have built into Stratum. And then certainly the power users will be able to schedule and move things in and out of the schedules once those are created within the broadcast manager. So think of a broadcast manager again. Some of those elements def- are defining, who's going to receive these reports, what reports or views am I going to send, when am I going to send them, and how. So those are the different types of things that you'll think about when you set up an action, which is basically the part that is the ability to send out the data via email or file share. Um, so, obviously these things need to be thought out. What views are you going to use? Who are the recipients going to be? What are the different schedules that you'll need, uh, to automate this process? Is this going to be sent out via email or file share? So certainly some things to think about when you set these actions up. And then you'll have the ability, of course, to group these actions together into groups and then assigning these groups accordingly to their schedules so that they run on an automated basis. All that is available today in the broadcast manager. More on actions. Certainly, you can have multiple views in the mix. So, if you want to send more than just one view, you can do that, of course. You can everything can be also delivered in a single Excel file so that you don't have multiple attachments. So if you do have multiple views, there's some options that you could set so that you're sending out just one Excel file with multiple tabs or worksheets within that file, which would display each one of the views that you're sending. Files can be distributed by email or, of course, written to network folders or a cloud environment, such that as long as you have a UNC path, you can write a file and export the data to an Excel file. The recipient can either be a distributor or certainly an external sales consultant. So your users, the recipients of these things, don't necessarily have to be inside of your organization. And that's the whole concept of setting up a broadcast user so that you can send reports and data to the outside, to manufacturing reps or sales consultants that are really not employed by you. And again, the big part of this, another big part of this is being able to allow the power users to manage these things and to decide, which ones are going to be scheduled and how they're going to be structured and grouped. Which brings us to the groups and schedule slide. Users again can schedule their own actions. They'll be able to plop them into the groups and assign the groups to the schedules. That's now user driven. That's something that doesn't necessarily have to be IT driven. So that, again, administrative controls are available to limit user access to these schedules so that, not everyone is out there creating schedules, right? So you can only have certain people that would be able to create these schedules. So a lot of things that we've already kind of discussed a little bit about the broadcast manager, the concept of the actions, the ability to group them together and schedule them. You've also got the ability to set up a broadcast user. So we talked a little bit about that. The ability to push these out to file shares. And then you also have log files that'll get created every time these things are processed, so that if anything goes wrong, there's a log file available for you to do any troubleshooting and any necessary research for you to get to figure out if there's any issues with the action processing. These actions can be created by advanced users and security administrators, view administrators, so that if you're in a view and you feel like it should be part of an action, certainly you can add that view to an existing action, or you can create just a separate action by itself. So it's up to you to decide, how you want to structure this and who, how many actions you're going to create, etc. There's obviously a menu that allows you to go in and manage these actions. You can filter by owner. You can sort on last processed to see, how these things are being processed and if they're being processed successfully. More on action maintenance. Only advanced users can only maintain their own actions. Obviously, you don't have advanced users out there maintaining other people's actions. Administrators and security administrators can maintain all actions, of course, and administrators can control the broadcast group. So you do have to be a view administrator or above in order to actually create and maintain all of the actions in the broadcast groups. Just think of a group as the ability to group these actions together. You don't want all these actions just running willy-nilly. You can group them together into meaningful groupings. Obviously it's again, something created and managed by the view and security administrators. It could be locked so that you don't have users out there moving things in and out, changing things behind your back, so that you can only allow certain people to have that full access to these broadcast groups. So some examples here, what groups you might need. I've seen like groups out there that are grouped by when they'll be processed or run, and then you can just marry those up directly to the schedules. They might be based on their purpose. So instead of the day of the week, they might be grouped together by the purpose of the groupings of the actions or reports, such as like month end, weekly sales updates or reports, financial daily reports. Those types of things might make more sense. We're always around. If you want to bounce some ideas off of us, we can certainly steer you in the right direction. And there's also a temporary group for one-time only processing available. So that's something that's also available. It's just some more like settings here. Locked, again, the lock property lets the owner lock out other users and prevents them from changing anything within the group. The keep actions property is set to no. When you can actually set that to no, I think by default it's yes, but by setting it to no, that's where it creates that temporary group and then removes the actions from the group after they get. So maybe you just want to process an action one time in a specific group. Then you could actually have those actions then clear out once they are processed. Not all of the actions, just maybe a few or one. It's up to you. So now you have this concept of the schedule. So you can then set up these schedules. Again, kind of like, the groups, you might want to set these up similarly. And of course, these can be locked so that, only administrators are creating and maintaining these. So what schedules will you need? And that's something you're going to need to think about: night, weekend, on time, one time only. Those are the things that you'll typically want to think about monthly. Um, Once these schedules are determined, you will need to work with IT just to make sure that these schedules are set up on the back end server accordingly. But once that's just a one-time thing, and then once that's been set up, then the users are certainly free to move things in and out of the schedules using the viewer interface. Just some visual examples of what we just talked about in terms of defining groups and schedules. Here we can see Sunday, Wednesday, or nightly. We can see these different structures of how we might set the stuff up. You can group together actions that need to be processed together. And again, you can do that by day or on a nightly basis. It's up to you on what specific days and how you structure these. I've seen different ways that IT uses to the different things that they use to schedule these things on the back end server. I've seen the Windows Task Scheduler. I personally recommend the SQL Server agent. You can use SSIS, even Stratum Link could be used here as well. And then obviously, some of the syntax here, we don't want to get too deep into it, but you can set these. It's very easy to set up, and then as you can see, there's a switch here that you'll identify what broadcast schedule ID that you'll run for that command line. Real simple stuff here. I mean, if you're already familiar with setting up command lines and scheduling those types of things, then pretty simple to set these up. When you do set these up, there's an account that you probably should use from your Active Directory that has an email associated to it, so that and has the appropriate permissions to whatever folders that you'll be pushing data out to in case you use that file share action. Here we can see the broadcast schedule using the task scheduler. So again, I've got a task schedule job out there backing up each one of my schedules within the viewer interface. The broadcast user, again, this is a new user level that we set up so that you can send these broadcast reports out to users outside of your organization. So these types of users really only need to be set up with their email address. And that's specifically what this user is for. And at this point, yes, it doesn't take up a seat. If you're a named user license, these broadcast users do take a seat in your named user license. Some just examples of how you can set some of this stuff up. Here we got a file share example where I'm pushing stuff out to a UNC path. So here I'm just specifying what the server name is, the share, obviously, and the path in which I want to place this file. Just kind of some examples of how this stuff looks and feels setting it up. Here's an example of an email with an Excel file attached to it. This is a view essentially that essentially gets pushed out via email as an attachment, as an Excel attachment. Just again, kind of different ways you can do this. I can have the view actually just display within the body of the email. That's another setting available to you in case you want to just not have any attachments. You can just have them have a snapshot of the view within the actual email. Pushing things out onto a shared drive, again, you'll then be able to come to your OneDrive and gain access to those reports as well. So again, pushing things out to the file shares, shared drives, that's all available so that, you can do a push or a pull depending on the culture and the different ways that your users might want to receive these reports. All right, so let's look at a demo real quick. We're going to talk a little bit about setting up an action, assigning it to a broadcast group, looking at just the different schedules that you could set up, of course, and then kind of looking at some of the examples that we can look at, some of the emails examples that we have and what they look like. So going into viewer, we obviously can see some of the new things that we have available. There's some of the dashboarding capabilities. So if you're not taking advantage of some of the new capabilities, such as the dashboarding, certainly you want to take advantage of some of that. Make sure you're on the latest and greatest version of viewer, and contact us if you don't know how to get that. We can help you gain access to that. All right, so let's take a look at some of these. If we open up our admin utilities, we can go into some of these maintenance menus, if you will. If we want to see how many actions we have set up, and within the admin utilities menu, we can see our actions menu. I've got about 14 different actions that are set up within my environment. We can see a daily sales package that is set up here. If I just double click on an action, it takes me into that action. And it obviously tells me some things about that action. In this case, it's a personal action of mine, so I'm only sending it to myself. If I wanted to send this out to other users, I could, if I wanted to, and add those in as needed. This actually happens to be an email. So this is actually being sent to me via email, but there's the file share option. So in case I wanted to change the method of delivery. The attachment would be Excel. That's the only one that's available in terms of an attachment. And then if I change that to include as text, then that actually just sends the actual view into the body of the email. And we saw that in the presentation. Do I want this to be a single file? And by default, that's a yes. So if I add any more views into this action, it will then certainly keep that Excel file as a single file. And it will then include the different actions, the different views within those actions as different worksheets within that single file. What's my export file type? There's a couple options here. You can use the views export type because there's a setting there for the actual view. I can set up as export Excel report, or I can set it up as Excel data. And really the only difference there would be the report comes with all the formatting from the view, and the Excel data doesn't. It's raw data. So normally when you're dealing with larger data volumes, you'll want to select Excel data because it's quicker. It doesn't have to do all the formatting options and all the colors and all that other stuff. It just drops the data down, nothing fancy, and puts it into an Excel file. So normally that is a quicker method, but you do have some options there in terms of how to set those up. When I set these, send these out via email or into an Excel, you might want to turn on your view details. What that'll include is a detail page for each one of your reports, telling you, what different filters or sorts that you have going on. It's just more data about the view itself, so that you understand what's going on with any filtering and stuff like that. I always recommend it. It's very informative. And then down here on the bottom is what's the email going to say? You can kind of dictate what that's going to do. In the next section, we'll talk a little bit about, this sending data out or sending the action out when no data exists. Right now that's turned on as a yes, but when we get into alerting in our next session, we'll certainly get into more detail about why you would want to change that setting. Down below, we can see the views that are set up for this action. There's only 3 of them. So this action has 3 different views assigned to it. And this one doesn't belong to a specific group. So this is something I probably just ran ad hoc. And what does this look like when you process it? It's going to look like this. So this is basically that action coming to me as the email itself. There are those 3 views that we saw. We saw those three actions that are there within the action itself. We saw the 3 views within the action. So a couple of things you'll notice. I do get a link back to each one of the views. So if I want to run these separately, certainly if I'm online, I can then kick these off. Clicking in on those would actually run the view, take me right into the actual view itself. So that's pretty nice. In case the user is online, they can come in, click on the link, and it takes them right into the actual view. which is what just happened there. Or I can just, if I'm disconnected, I might be on the road in a cafe with, not great Wi-Fi. We've all experienced that. Certainly, I can then use the Excel attachment. Here it is. Here now I can then gain access to the data, no matter, as long as I have my email right. I have access to the different views within Excel as part of the attachment. So here I can see my sales metrics. Here I can go to the next tab over, because remember we said to keep it as a single file. So now I'm not getting lost in a weight of different files. I've got my different views available to me within the single Excel file. Nice, clean, easy. Notice that the graph comes along with it as well, so that you'll have these sales metrics available. Both graphical and data grid formats come along for the reporting capabilities. So, this is a heavily used piece. A lot of our customers really like to use this. It's convenient. It allows our the users to really kind of get what they need and go. It's very nice for sales reps, and daily or weekly sales, monthly sales packets, so that they can see stuff perhaps when they're disconnected. So there's all kinds of uses. Certainly we can talk more about it. If you contact us, we'll be glad to talk to you about any of that, of what you saw today. As you can see, you can contact me by email. You can certainly give me a call, and check out some of the other ways that you can learn more about Sylvan through the different links that you see below. Well, that's wraps up another session of our insights. Join us for the part 2 in 2 weeks from today, and we will talk more about how to set these actions up as alerts, so that you only get actions, you only get emails when something has occurred, right? So sounds interesting. So make sure you're available. Make sure that you check it out, and then you can set up alerts for your own company.